I'm gonna be showing you guys the 10 best grinding fruits in all of Blox fruits. These fruits will literally help you reach max level in less than a week. So in number 10, we actually have a quite interesting fruit. It's the chop fruit. And some of you may be wondering, why is the chop fruit even on this list? And the reason for that is, if you have the chop fruit equipped, you cannot get hit with enemies that use swords. And this is a fruit that you should probably only use when grinding those type of enemies. Otherwise, it's kind of useless. I mean, it is one of the worst fruits in the game after all. And in number 9, we have the flame fruit. And the flame fruit is kind of a hybrid fruit, because this is a fruit that's good for PvP and for grinding. But unfortunately, it's not the best fruit in both of those categories. But it's also an elemental type fruit, which makes it really hard for enemies to hit you. Unless, of course, they have hockey. And it also has this flying ability that comes in handy when you're trying to go up to places, to Sky Islands or some places in the 3rd sea. But overall, not the best fruit if you want to grind. And in number 8, we have the dark fruit. The dark fruit is a pretty rare fruit to get. But the main reason that it's on this list as a grinding fruit is because of its potential against bosses. Since all boss fights in this game for quests are 1v1s, the dark fruit is really good at these. Most of the abilities from the dark fruit just stun the user, and that's why it's really good against just one person. And obviously, it's also an elemental type fruit, which is just an added bonus. But keep in mind that this is basically only good for boss quests, so it's probably not the best choice. And now we're getting on to the good fruits. In number 7, we have the smoke fruit. The smoke fruit is the cheapest elemental type fruit in the game, and if you're in the 1st seat, this is definitely a fruit that you want to keep your eye on. And the reason for this is that its flyability is unlimited, and it does damage while you fly. So you can just fly around above your enemies, and they won't be able to hit you, unless, of course, they have ranged attacks. But keep in mind that this fruit is also elemental, so sometimes they won't be able to hit you. And its other abilities are also pretty good for grinding, but the main thing that you want from this fruit is its flying ability. You guys are gonna hate me for this, but in number 6, we have the dough fruit. Everyone in the game knows that the dough fruit is literally one of the best fruits in the whole game, but it isn't really a best choice for grinding. The dough fruit's abilities are more suited to PvP, especially the awakened version, but for doing quests, it's just not really the best choice, and the fruits above this are just so much better in so many ways. And in 5th place, we got the venom fruit. The venom fruit is a grinding fruit that almost every single one of the venom fruit's abilities are targeted towards grinding, especially the toxic fog ability. The toxic fog just creates a bunch of clouds in a specific area and just pours out a lot of damage onto the enemies. And did I mention the transformation for this fruit is freaking insane? And the abilities you can dish out while in this transform mode just make it all the more worth it. And now for 3rd and 4th place, I'm gonna be counting both of these as the same because it's the light and ice fruit. And the reason these two fruits are up here on this list is because of their passive ability. The light fruit gives you a free sword and the ice fruit gives you this ice trident. This lets you to dish out damage to your enemies while waiting for your abilities to recharge. And another really good thing about this is that when you're upgrading stats, you don't even need to touch your sword stats because you literally have a free sword and you just have to upgrade your Blox fruit points. And all the abilities that these fruits have are also really good for grinding. Well, most of them at least. The light flight is kind of useless for grinding, but it does let you get to the next island really fast. And did I mention both of these fruits in their awakened form are just really insane and increases the ability damage by a lot, which makes it even better for grinding. And in 2nd place, we got the magma fruit. And this is a fruit that you mostly want to use in the 1st and 2nd sea. And this fruit also does a huge amount of passive damage. And what I mean by this is once you use a magma attack, you can see these little parts of magma spill off and they just stay there for a bit. And if the enemy walks into them, it does a lot of damage. And believe it or not, this fruit has the highest damage out of every fruit in the game if you add the puddle damage. And these are just the base abilities of this fruit. Once you awaken your magma fruit, it lets you do some really OP things like walking into water. And it also upgrades your abilities and makes them so much better and 10 times cooler. But this fruit is only the 2nd best fruit. And what's in number 1 is so much better. I know most of you already expected this, but in number 1, we got the Buddha fruit. And the Buddha fruit is known by everybody in the community as the literal best fruit in the game for grinding. And the reason for this being is when you transform into a Buddha, the range that you can hit your enemies increases by a huge amount. This lets you hit your enemies without them even being able to touch you. And if you combine this fruit with a combat style or a sword, it just makes it super overpowered. And if you're looking to get to max level, this is definitely the fruit that you want to keep your eye on. But one downside is that this fruit is extremely rare to come by. And once you get the awakened version of your Buddha, it increases the size and gives your Buddha a passive ability, making it the best fruit for grinding in the whole game.